This one, this might be a little bit of a more touchy subject, I guess, than some of the
Mhm.
other ones. We like to be fun and fancy free, but
Right.
sometimes there's deeper things to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about safety plans
Mhm.
and things that we need to put into place to keep us and our loved ones safe.
Yes.
Welcome to It's a Mental Thing, the podcast that dives deep into the power of the mind and the heart of mental health. Whether you're navigating life's challenges, seeking balance, or simply curious about how to care for your mind, you're in the right place. Each week, we explore stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you build resilience, find clarity, and embrace a healthier you. So take a deep breath and let's journey together toward a brighter, more mindful tomorrow. Welcome to It's a Mental Thing, because your mental health matters.
So when you told me you wanted to talk safety plans, I'm so stupid, but my first thought is, oh, like, how do I get out of my house in a fire?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a ladder to climb down. I need to talk about, but that is a safety plan.
It is.
But then I was like, but we're a mental health podcast, so that's probably not what she was talking about. So
Right.
tell me a little bit about what you are referring to when you say, like, hey, we need safety plans.
Yeah. So in mental health, a safety plan is actually part of a treatment plan that we're going through, and it happens in school settings. So for those of y'all that do not know, I was a school counselor for like 8 years, with middle school. So always putting in safety plans. I've worked at Children's Hospital in the psych unit portion in the emergency room, always putting in safety plans. And now in private practice, I have to put in safety plans. And so if you're 14 and younger, I get to work with the parents as well.
Okay.
Technically 14 and older, I don't have to work with the parents, which seems
Really?
wild, right?
That does seem
it
wild.
seems so wild. But in therapy, there are only 3 things that I can keep a secret.
Okay.
Well, there are 3 things I can't. Let me rephrase that I cannot keep a secret. Okay. Let me rephrase. 3 things that I cannot keep a secret in a session is self-harm, harm to others, or you want to, or someone's harming you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
self-harm, harm to others, someone's harming you.
Got to report that.
Those are the 3 things I cannot keep confidential anymore. Now, if I'm talking to a grown adult, I'm not calling your mom.
Right.
I'm not calling your dad. But I also am going to let them know that I fear for their safety.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm talking to a 14 and younger, obviously I'm bringing in the parents. We're going to talk about those 3 things. And that's what I tell. It's on my desk. It's the very first thing I tell them when I meet with them and their parents if they're younger, is that, listen, we can talk about everything and anything you want to talk about, except when you bring up self-harm, harm to others, someone's harming you. Okay? When you bring up those things, I am obligated to reach out for extra help and support, whether that's your parents or a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we call it a safety plan, because
Okay.
what we're doing is we're trying to work together as a team. I do not have the power to send anyone to the hospital, which is another fear that people have when they go into therapy.
Mm-hmm.
If they are someone who has harmed someone, they've harmed themselves or they are being harmed, they are so afraid to come to therapy and that come up because they are afraid of what's going to happen next.
Right.
So that's what this is. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to sit down with them and I'm going to do a risk assessment. And so I'm going to ask straight up questions that I need yes or no answers to. And that's why this one is a more serious part of the podcast, because the risk assessment is, do you have thoughts of harming yourself or others? Yes or no? Do you have intentions of harming yourself or others? Yes or no? Do you have a means or a way to harm yourself or others? Yes or no? Based on that, again, I am never going to guide that on a high or a low or a medium risk,
Right.
because I take it so seriously, whether if it's all no.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're self-harming, there's some sort of risk to themselves. If they have thoughts of harming others, we have this thing called duty to warn. It's an ethical, like we have to do that. Duty to warn. So for example, if I am meeting with your husband as a client and he has brought up in a session, I've thought about hurting my wife in this way. Guess what? The police are going to know.
Yeah.
And that is for your safety. It's also for his safety. I don't want him to go to jail. I don't want him to act out on his thoughts
Right.
or his feelings of what he's feeling in that moment. But I'm not going to let him say that to me and me just hear it and do nothing with it.
Did you hear that, Renan?
And knowing your husband wouldn't do that, just using it as an example. But it's people come in and those are things that they forget that therapists can do. We are mandated reporters.
Yeah.
So if we're dealing with kids, we're getting DHR involved, we're getting the police involved, we're getting the parents involved. Again, this is not to scare anyone away from therapy. It's just the reality of safety.
Yeah.
And as parents, we want to keep our kids safe. We want to know our kids are safe. We want to know they're safe at school. We want to know they're safe with their friends. And we want to know they're safe at home.
Yeah.
So if I'm the only person they trust and I've built that relationship with them and they trust me and that comes out. So what we call that is self-disclosure. They have disclosed something to me that they have not disclosed to anyone else. And like I said, I've been in the school settings, I've been in the hospital setting, and now I'm in the private practice setting. So I have seen it in a range of different forms. But as far as a safety plan goes, whether it's a young kid, like I said, anywhere from 14 to younger, I'm going to meet with these parents or their guardian, and I'm going to meet with this child, and we're all going to come together and we're going to form a safety plan. And what that may look like is, does the door come off the hinges? Are you locking away all of the medicine? Are you putting away all of the sharp objects at home? Do you have firearms at home? Are we locking them away? Which all of those things you should be doing anyways for safety for everyone in the home. But if we know that you are a patient that's in for mental health reasons and you have self-harm, suicidal ideation, thoughts of harming someone else, or if someone is harming you, whether physically, sexually, verbally, whatever it may be, we're going to come up with some sort of safety plan together. So if we're looking at 14 and up, which gets a little bit more tricky, for me personally as a therapist, if you're still under the roof of your parents or your guardian, I am going to look at that client and say, what I would like for you to do is to tell your parents or your guardians what you're thinking and what you're going through. And if you need help with that, I will sit with you and explain that to them with you. If you need me to be your voice and explain that to your parents or guardian of what you're going through or what you're thinking, I will do that. But someone needs to be involved in this safety plan.
Yeah.
If we go 19 and up and they're on their own, they're in college, full-blown adult, that safety plan is between me and that client. And that for me
That's heavy.
can be heavy, right? So I do create these safety plans with older clients too, in a way. I'm not telling them, hey, you have to take your door off your hinges. Hey, you have to put your medicine, because they're adults.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go over this same safety plan because I want to keep them safe. I want to make sure they're safe. And I will end that session every single time looking at them and saying, I'm going to see you at your next session, right? Because I want to make sure that they know if they don't think anybody in this world cares about them,
You do.
I do. And I care about their life enough to keep them safe. And that's my whole spiel to them about what I want to do with their safety and why I care.
Yeah.
It could be the first time I've met them. And I told you in an earlier podcast, in my history form, in the intake form, it even asks your risk assessment. And a patient may put suicidal thoughts. Okay, so I know that day one coming in, and I'm working with them on that. So I'm diving straight into that. I'm asking those yes or no questions, because if we're afraid, even parents that are listening, if we're afraid to ask those hard questions, do you have thoughts of this? Do you have thoughts of suicide? Are you harming yourself? Is someone harming you? What is that inappropriate touch or that no touch? Like, we have to know. If we don't ask those questions, we will not know the answers.
That to me is just, it's terrifying
Yeah.
from the perspective of a parent. And there's even a show that is really trending right now. Oh, it's on Netflix.
Yes, Netflix.
Adolescence.
Yes.
And I haven't seen it yet because honestly, I'm scared to watch
Yeah.
it. But you told me a little bit about it, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. But it's a parent basically who just didn't ask the questions because it's sometimes just easier
Right.
not to.
Yeah.
Or I've even thought this to myself, do I want to talk to my 10-year-old girls about suicide because I don't want to put that in their head if it's not already there.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But yet we need to talk about
Right.
it.
And I will tell you, you saying that one statement is part of the stigma. You are not planting a seed of suicide when you say the word suicide, which so many people, you're not the first. It's such a fear that
Yeah.
people have is if I talk about it, they're going to want to do it. Some kids or adults who have completed suicide never mentioned it to anyone. And maybe it was never mentioned to them. But what if someone asked them if they were okay?
Right.
What if someone said, hey, are you thinking about hurting yourself? And they said, yeah. And that's the moment that they were able to say, I need to talk to someone. So saying the word suicide is not planting the seed. And so many people think that it's an actual myth of suicide prevention is if I say, hey, are you thinking about suicide? You're not making them think about suicide.
Right.
You're making them think about it in a way of, if I ever feel that way, I can tell my mom.
Yeah.
She's not going to be afraid to talk to me about it. I don't have to be ashamed to say that to my mom. You as the mom internally, are you going to feel scared to death? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're going to go into a safety plan and you're going to tell them, I am doing this because I care about you and I want you to live until you are 110. You know, however,
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy life because suicide is a very permanent thing to a very temporary situation.
Yeah.
It may be somebody has said something to you. It may be somebody has done something to you, but taking your life, taking someone else's life, that's a very permanent thing. And so a safety plan has to go into place, whether at home or within a therapist and the parents or in a school setting. The show you're referencing, Adolescence, is on Netflix. Some of you, it's all over the news right now. And spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear it, I'm not gonna go into full details, but I have watched all of it, and I definitely watched it from a therapeutic standpoint. It's an adolescent child who, at the end of the day, did something that landed him in the judicial system, and his parents had to struggle for about a year and a half of wondering why, what happened, because the gist of it is he was a good kid. He was a sweet kid, a kind kid, a very generous kid, a very, well-known kid. But what was happening behind the scenes, either the parents didn't want to see it, didn't see it, or they ignored certain signs. And so at the end of it, they have to question themselves and accept, we should have stopped it.
Yeah.
We should have seen the self-isolation. We should have noticed he wasn't coming out to talk to us, which is questions that I ask parents a lot in this field of work, because unfortunately, I have dealt with a lot of suicide, whether it's been former students, whether it's been parents, whether it's been a family member that, rocked my world, which is why I do not take it lightly to create a safety plan.
Yeah.
And whatever that safety plan is, whether it's conversations about it, whether you find out someone has inappropriately touched you or hurt you in any kind of way, whether you're hurting yourself or want to hurt yourself, let's come up with a way together as a team to form a safety plan to make sure that this individual knows, oh, I am cared for. oh, I do have someone to talk to about how I'm feeling, and there is help.
Yeah.
Suicide, hurting someone else, hurting yourself as far as self-harm goes is so preventable.
Right.
And people forget that because they don't talk about it.
Well, I feel like that this has been my biggest takeaway from this one so far is just, when I share with you, like, I don't even want to talk to my girls about this fill in the blank topic. It could be anything, right? Because I don't want to plant a seed.
Yep.
And it's like, no, that's just opening a door to let them know, hey, you can freely come in and out of this
Yes.
door. And then if there is something that needs to be addressed, we put together a plan to protect you and keep you safe.
Right. And you want to notice the red flags.
Yeah.
Okay. Is your kid, or are you as an adult, are you isolating yourself from the world, from your friends? Are you spending too much time on a digital device, on a website you're not supposed to be on, that's feeding you negative information, or you're only getting negative feedback? Because the world we live in is mean.
Yeah.
It's cruel.
Terrible.
Social media can be fun and a self-expression, but if you're a teenager, or if you're someone who does, we talked about self-worth, cares so much about what other people think, and you're getting negative or ugly, nasty comments, and that does something to you and changes your mindset, again, and you're thinking about the permanency of ending your life or hurting someone else, if we come up with a safety plan to know, hey, it is okay to feel this way. It is not okay to feel this way 7 days out of the week. It is not okay to act out on those things. It is okay to come to me about it.
Yeah.
And that's what a safety plan is. And I will go above and beyond. I don't care if you mark all zeros on my risk factor, but if you've even mentioned, yeah, I have felt a little sad lately, and I've thought about, what would it be like if I wasn't here? Okay. That can be a simple, just intrusive thought.
Yeah.
But if you're in a completely depressive state, I am not going to take that lightly.
Yeah.
So I want to see what that means and go deeper. And that's what a safety plan is in mental health. Letting people know, letting your kids know, hey, I know the world out there is saying all these things. I know you're seeing all of these things. Kids are going to start watching adolescents. Kids, back years ago when 13 Reasons Why came out, I, as a therapist, had lots of feelings about that because kids were watching that.
Yeah.
And there's this thing called copycat.
Yes.
And we do not want that to become a cycle in our kids' minds, or even in adults' minds, or anyone's mind. We want them to know it is entertainment only, but it can be a very real thing as far as like mindset and like thought patterns go. So opening up to your kids, if you ever feel this way, I just want you to know that you can talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Because for people who have completed any kind of action or form of permanency where harm is involved, they may have never mentioned it before to anyone else. And all you want to do now at the end is ask the question why.
Right.
I do. I still ask the question why, whether it was my family member, students, parents. It's one of those things that we'll never know, which is why if we have these conversations, we've done everything we absolutely can to talk to them, to help them, and to get them the help that they need. And that is why it's so important to have a safety plan at home or with a therapist, or if there's hospitalization involved. A safety plan is going to be put into place to make sure they are safe, people around them are safe, and, others like yourself or the therapist, I have to make sure I'm safe. Safety plans are just so important. And again, planting the seed of a negative thought isn't accurate. It's a fear that we think they've never heard it. We're shielding them from this. But what if they have heard it? What if they do already think about it and they don't, and they're hiding it? So my job is to just straight up ask the yes or no questions.
Yeah.
And I am going to do every single thing I can to make sure that they stay safe and the people around them stay safe.
This was a heavy topic, but definitely needed.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Be sure to follow our podcast on your favorite platform or find us on YouTube. Just a quick note. If you're facing a mental health challenge, we encourage you to seek help from a licensed therapist like Erica or a healthcare provider. Remember, your well-being is personal, and only a professional can provide guidance tailored to your unique needs.